Do you want to create more art but are feeling very stuck and uninspired? Stick around because I've got some practical tips to help inspire you and help you come up with amazing ideas for your artwork. There are many different reasons why someone might be experiencing an art block, but one of them may be because you're just out of ideas. You're not quite sure what to draw. And if that's the case, this video is for you. During this video, you'll see time-lapse footage of me drawing my original character as a tarot card. Tip number 1. Draw thumbnail sketches. As you can see at the start of this video, I do thumbnailing as part of my art process. If you look at my other videos on my channel, you'll notice that I almost always start with the thumbnailing process when creating art. And if you're not familiar with this process of thumbnailing, it's where you draw little drawings, maybe about an inch and a half in size, where you're just exploring the composition of the artwork and the elements of the artwork without getting into any detail at all. So you may even be drawing the characters as little stick figures if you have characters in the piece, but you're mostly sticking to very simple shapes, simple lines, to try and get a feel for the composition and what types of elements you can have in the artwork. If you've never done this before, I strongly recommend giving this a try and trying to create 50 to 100 thumbnails for your first go. And when doing this, you want to not edit yourself and just try to draw as many ideas as you possibly can, even if you don't like the idea that you thought of. So it's really important that you don't edit yourself at all and just put every single idea that you have onto the page. This is a really great way to experiment very quickly without investing too much time in any one drawing. I don't really spend that much time doing my thumbnailing these days because I usually find an idea that I like fairly quickly, and the process just works for me really well. Probably usually 20 to 30 minutes doing thumbnails. And thumbnailing, you don't want to spend a lot of time on each drawing. You really only want to spend like 2 minutes per drawing because you don't want to be getting into the details. Tip number 2, balancing input and output. You want to have a good balance of exposing yourself to inspiring content and media, whether that be games, movies, artwork, etc. Because as artists, a lot of the work that we create is inspired by the things around us, whether that be life experiences or other artwork that we see or other media that we consume. We are very much influenced by outside ideas. And if we're not getting enough input of those ideas, then it's really hard for us to make any output. Tip number 3, gathering reference. No art is completely original. You can borrow bits of ideas here and there from other artists' work, just as long as you're not borrowing too much from any one piece. For example, in this piece that you see here of me drawing Willow, you'll see that I draw Willow with hair that turns into rivers. And that idea I did not come up with on my own. I saw someone else's artwork that happened to use the same idea, and I thought that was really cool, and so I drew my own interpretation of that same idea. However, all the other elements of the artwork are different from the one that had this idea of the hair flowing into the rivers. So it's just that one element that I borrowed from this other piece. Just want to point out, like, as artists, we do have to understand a little bit about what is okay, both ethically and legally, to draw from other artists' work and what is not okay. And there is a certain line where if you're borrowing too many ideas from the same work of art or from the same artist, that infringes on that other artist's copyright and can be unethical. But if you are gathering material from multiple sources and then processing that in your head into something new, then what you have is an original work. The next question becomes, when should you gather reference? Should you do it before you thumbnail or after? And I actually say do it at both times. Doing it before you thumbnail can help to inspire some ideas, and doing it after can help you to refine your idea by having references of different foliage or different plants or different objects to help you to render it to make it look more realistic or look more accurate. For example, if in this piece, drawing different pine trees, I might grab some reference material of different trees that I might want to draw, or different rivers, just to kind of see the patterns of how rivers flow. or just look at reference of other tarot cards just to kind of get an idea of the aesthetic of tarot cards. You can gather images on Google image search. That's probably where a lot of people grab their images. However, I find that the quality of the images that I find on Pinterest to be much better quality, so I tend to look there for my reference material. However, if you are planning to copy something where you're really drawing from the reference very, very closely, you want to grab an image that is from a website that is copyright free images, or images that are okay for you to copy from. So some examples of some sites you can use are like Unsplash or Pixabay. There's a lot of other sites out there. If you Google search for free image sources, you can find some websites with images that are copyright free or royalty free that you can use as a basis for your artwork. And before we move on, since we're on the topic of copying, I did want to say that copying and tracing can be very useful exercises for learning to draw. Some artists will tell you that copying and tracing are not okay, but I actually don't believe that. I think that they are great learning tools. You just have to be careful that if you post the work online where you are copying someone else's work, that you properly credit, or consider not posting it at all and just kind of keeping it for personal use. But definitely copying and tracing can be very useful tools for learning. There's also the method of photographing your own reference material, creating your own reference images, and then tracing or painting on top of that. And that's also a perfectly acceptable thing to do because you own the rights to those images. There are also programs where you can pose little figures in different positions and everything to use as reference material. That's also perfectly fine to use as a basis for your art and tracing on top of as well. Once you find images that you do like, I like to gather them together on a page so I can see them all at once, at least the ones that are my favorite reference images. And I use a program called PureRef. It's a free program that allows you to drag and drop images into it and lay them out in a way that makes sense to you so that you can easily see your reference material as you're drawing. It even has an option to always be on top on a desktop computer so that it can appear above your drawing program's UI so that you can always see it on your screen. Tip number 4, use prompts. Prompts are a great source of inspiration for your artwork. And there's prompts ranging from very simple one-word prompts to longer story-driven prompts. And if you like prompts, be sure to check out the PaperDemon Art RPG. Nearly all of the artwork that you see on this channel and on our social media was created from one of the PaperDemon Art RPG prompts. In the case of the artwork that you see here, this was created from one of our weekly character development prompts of drawing your character as a tarot card, and I was really inspired by that and really had to put that down onto the page. Every week we release a new character development prompt. These are one-sentence prompts that help you develop your character, usually something very simple. Every month we have a larger event, which is either a portal, a boss fight, or a quest. Boss fights will have multiple one-sentence prompts that you could choose from, whereas portals and quests will have long prompts that are at least a paragraph in length. So in summary, the tips I have for you are to do thumbnail sketching, balance your input versus output, gather reference material, and use prompts. I hope you found this video useful. Please give it a like, and if you're an artist that is struggling with art block right now, I just want you to know that I see you and I feel your pain. That is exactly why I created the PaperDemon Art RPG, to inspire artists just like you to create more. It's free. Draw your characters, fight monsters, defeat art block. You got this. A link to join the game is in the description below. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye!